Hey everyone, Brandy Norwood, the woman the world has long called the vocal Bible, the multi-talented star who went from teenage sensation to TV pioneer, from chart-topping singer to cultural icon, has once again found herself at the center of headlines that left fans gasping, not because of scandal or controversy, but because of the breathtaking truth behind what she has quietly endured, overcome, and finally revealed after years of whispers, questions, and speculation. And as this shocking new wave of Brandy news sweeps across the internet, fans are discovering that her journey is far more intense, far more emotional, and far more inspiring than they ever realized. To understand the impact of this moment, we have to go back to the beginning, when a young girl with a powerhouse voice from Mississippi moved to Los Angeles with a dream so big it terrified even her. Yet she chased it relentlessly, giving up her childhood, privacy, and sense of normalcy just to enter an industry that would eventually demand everything from her. Brandy became a superstar before she even understood what fame meant. At just 15 years old, she released a debut album that changed R&B forever, then stepped into living rooms around the world as the star of Moshe, becoming one of the first young black women to lead a major network sitcom. But what nobody knew was how the pressure mounted behind the scenes. The shocking truth she now openly acknowledges is that success came at a painful price. Exhaustion, loneliness, and the emotional weight of being the role model for an entire generation of young girls who looked to her for guidance while she herself was still trying to understand who she was. The news that stuns fans today is Brandy admitting she spent years silently battling depression, anxiety, and the crushing fear of failure while smiling for cameras and carrying the expectations of millions on her shoulders. She reveals that at the height of her fame, she felt like she was living two lives, the polished, perfect Brandy the world adored, and the private Brandy who felt lost, overwhelmed, and terrified to show vulnerability because the industry demanded perfection. She speaks about the tragedy of her 2006 car accident, an event that left her mentally and emotionally devastated, and how for years afterwards she lived with guilt, grief, and public scrutiny that nearly broke her spirit. She now shares openly how she struggled to rebuild her identity after the world seemed to turn its back on her, forcing her into silence, away from the spotlight, and into a long period of emotional recovery. The latest shocking development, the revelation that she privately fought through a severe health scare that nearly derailed her life and career, left fans stunned because Brandy had always presented herself as strong, polished, unshakable, and unstoppable. But behind the scenes, she was enduring a battle that demanded every ounce of willpower she had. She admits now that she spent years hiding physical pain, emotional trauma, and mental exhaustion while continuing to work, record music, perform, and push herself beyond healthy limits. All because she feared being forgotten or replaced in an industry that moves on without mercy. This shocking confession has opened the eyes of fans who had always sensed something deeper beneath her quiet public presence. The exhaustion in her eyes during interviews, the long breaks between releases, the mysterious gaps in her public appearances, and now Brandy confirms that she stepped away from fame not because she lacked motivation, but because she was fighting for her life, her sanity, and her sense of self. She explains that during her hardest years she lost relationships, lost confidence, and even questioned her purpose, wondering if the world still needed her voice, her art, or her presence. But the most shocking news of all, with the part that leaves fans gasping, is her triumphant return. Because Brandy has now come forward to say she is stronger, healthier, more focused, and more determined than ever before. She has undergone deep healing, therapy, spiritual growth, and personal transformation that have led her into a new chapter of her life. She reveals that for the first time in decades, she feels free. Free from the pressure to be perfect, free from the expectations that suffocated her, and free from the fear that once controlled her every move. With this shocking new revelation, Brandy stands not only as a musical icon, but as a testament to resilience, survival, and the extraordinary strength required to rise after falling. She confirms that she is back in the studio, back on stage, and back to reclaiming the artistry that made her a legend. But this time as a woman who knows her worth, knows her boundaries, and knows she no longer has anything to prove, not because it's tragic, but because it reveals a woman who endured unimaginable pressure, yet survived, evolved, and returned with more purpose, clarity, and power than ever. And as fans witness this new chapter, they realize the truth they always suspected, that Brandy is not just the vocal Bible, she is a fighter, a survivor, and a phoenix rising from the ashes of her past, ready to shine brighter than she ever has before. Thanks for watching.